Hi, Tony, and hi, Jeremy. And how are you both today?
Hi. Oh,
You good?
yeah, not too bad, thanks.
We're alive.
Tony, can you move in a little bit?
Yeah.
And you've both been volunteers for Basildon Hospital Radio. So
Yeah.
I'll talk to Jeremy first. How did you first get involved in radio and involved in volunteering? What did you do, first of all?
You go, Tony.
No, she asked you.
Oh, did it? Oh, sorry. I was up to be myself. I used to do a quiz night for quite a few years, and somebody said you should do hospital radio, and just literally a few weeks later, there was an advertisement in the yellow advertiser, basically, and they were looking for people. So I thought I'll have a go. I'd done 30 years as amateur manager of football, and I wanted to try something else different. I've done that, and I fancy having a go at that. So basically, I went with our boss, Jackie.
Yeah.
And basically, well, I say it's an interview. It wasn't an interview. You were just there, sort of thing. And one thing led to another.
Yeah.
That's all right.
And how about you, Tony?
Well, I was, before BHR, I did a lot of internet radio for about 10 years. And I was also part of the very first restricted service license that Basildon had in 1999. I was part of the team that ran the 28-day license. Then I went into doing internet radio with one of my friends who was part of that, part of the 28-day broadcast. I was helping him with his station. So I did that for about 10 years or so. And then I decided I've had enough because I've just fancied a complete rest from radio. And then I'm thinking I left in October 2012, and then around about January time, I started getting that buzz for wanting to do the radio again. So one of our other presenters who we work with, who I was working with on the internet radio station, he recommended to join BHR. So I got in touch with Jackie, and the rest is history, and I've been there over 8 years.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've been there. I started with another guy called Phil, and we started together. I've never done the technical side of it, unless we could work together. And about 6 years ago, we left to live in Somerset.
Yeah.
And Tony was only supposed to be with me 2 weeks.
Yeah. And
We're getting a bit of feedback, aren't we? I don't normally get feedback. Do you know why there's a little bit of feedback on here?
No, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, sorry to interrupt you.
That's all right.
So carry on.
Yeah, we've been working together for nearly 6 years now.
Yes, and it doesn't seem to stay too long.
And so we began doing the Monday shows, which we do, which is primarily a request show. And then we started doing the quiz on Wednesdays. I did the desk and Jerry did the questions. So that's been going on for,
4 years.
Yeah, about 4 years or so now.
It's basically a pub quiz that we do on the radio. Tony producing it. It takes so much to sort out because we can't ad-lib. We've got to do questions, so it's got to all be put in. And since we've been recording at his place, we do an hour show and record it. But it has to be all fitted in, basically, with adverts and promos and things, which can take some time. So it's lucky there's two of us, one speaking, the other one doing the technical side of it.
Okay, that's good. And you mentioned about BBC before, Jeremy. Was you working with them before?
I started there when I was 17.
Yeah.
I was only going to stay there about a year, and then 31 years later, I left. I left and took a redundancy. It was amazing to think. I went through the 70s and 80s, the highlight of the BBC. I worked at Lion Grove Studios, and I worked at Television Centre, and finished at Centre House, handling drama and such like. I handled the film and tapes that came in from across the world. Your Neighbours episodes came addressed to me, and then I had to catalogue and put them into our system. And other things, I worked on. I had Summer Relief. I worked on current affairs programmes a couple of times, rushes and such like, which came in. That's like the shots of the day. and I handled those as well. And then it sounds glamorous, but it could have been sausages, basically. And then I, lucky enough, which is on my Facebook, I actually was in the audience on Top of the Pops in the late 70s, about 9 times. I used to get the tickets, and it keeps appearing on these, these things that you get on Facebook, glam rock gears and whatever. I keep seeing myself. I was 18 or 19, which is a bit of a shock. I got hair, and also about 4 stone lighter.
So when you worked at the BBC, was you a presenter or was you the technical side? Didn't quite get that. Was you a technical side or a presenter or something on the BBC?
No, what? Sorry, I didn't catch that. I'm sorry.
When you worked for the BBC, was it the technical side you worked on, or was you a presenter?
Yeah, no, I mean, somebody physically in those days had to carry the prints, your feature films, 35mm prints. They came from America. Anything like Dallas, we used to handle. The famous story, of course, that my ex-BBC workers always say to me is the famous day that the Kodak came to our country. I thought it was a Kodak delivery because we didn't ever know what Kodak was. So I handled all those when they came in. Mostly all your programming stuff that they bought came through my hands or my department. As I worked my way up, I was in charge of it, basically, the program acquisition of what we bought, not that they made. And it was you went to work in a jeans and not in your shirt and tie. It was one of those ones where you had to physically had to pick them up and then carry them. And we went on to videotape. We used to be 2-inch tapes. When I left, we were down to a smaller tape. Now it's all on files, basically, and my job doesn't exist whatsoever. Actually, the building I last worked in, I just found out this week just been knocked down completely. So even if I wanted to go back, I can't. It's not there anymore, basically.
Yeah.
But it sounds glamorous, but it wasn't always. We used to occasionally meet somebody in the. You think, oh, it's so and so. I was friendly with Sue Lawley at one time. She was really nice, actually. She was our loading bay where we had stuff come in. If she came in late to do Nationwide or something, if it was in the way, she used to drop the keys into us to see if she could move her car when everything was moved out the way. But she was really nice. You do find out what they are really like, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like you saw a star every day. I did see the Osmonds. I mean, that's exciting, but that's about it.
So over the last sort of year, you've been interviewing quite a few people who've been quite famous, haven't you? On
yes.
BHR. So you
yeah, well, you were famous, Lisa.
Oh.
Well, I mean, it's all by accident, isn't it, Tony? Yeah. Really. I mean, we were just doing interviews with local people and different things just to make it interesting for our listeners. And then I got, you may not remember, Randon Hopkirk in the 70s, Annette Andre. She was the lead in that, actually, and she was also in a lot of these Saints with Roger Moore. She worked everywhere. She went out with George Best, and Benny Hill proposed to her, and the book came out. And it took me, she was in the California, and I got an email to her, and she said when she'd come back, she didn't, and she did, didn't she, Tony? It was about 40 minutes long. It was fascinating. It was like the who's who of television, basically.
Yeah.
And after that, I thought, well, that'd be interesting. We could find somebody else. And then, not to go for every person, but the first one we really got was Britt Eklund. She'd just been on Marigolds, the series about
the hotel.
The version of that. And I watched the sorry.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, it's the delay. And we got the. I got the Facebook. I saw her on there. I went and made a cup of tea, came back, and she came back to me 10 minutes later. She said, "Please send an email to me, and I'll do an interview." And she spoke to me from Sweden. Was one of them, which was a bit amazing, considering I hadn't done at the time many of them. And she was a bit of a character, I must admit. And then since then it's been. We tried one person, another person. I mean, with Susie Quattro twice.
Slade as well.
Yeah. We just spoke to Don Power about 3 weeks ago in Denmark. Only this week we spoke to Alan Williams of the Rubettes. We didn't know he was in Australia, but and we're hoping next week the original singer of the Hollies, Alan Clark. I've been in touch with him as well. He said he'd do something. We've done Rick Wakeman. Vicky Michelle was in Hello Hello.
Oh yeah.
Miriam
McGolis. She only swore 3 times.
I really like Miriam McGolis. She's very funny, isn't she?
But she knew she was talking to a hospital radio, and Tony does all the editing, so if there was anything we shouldn't. Barry and what's his name? John Barry. He was in Please Sir.
No, David Barry.
David Barry shows you how many well done. David Barry. Linda Regan. She was in Heidi High. We spoke to her.
What did she play? What part did she play, Linda Regan, in Heidi High?
April.
Yeah, she was.
She was one of the yellowcoats that was always mooning after Spike.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
Yeah, she also was Dennis Walkman's girlfriend in The Minder, the first episode. She thought she was going to be in for the series, but she got dropped.
Yeah.
But she said George Cole taught her how to use how to prune roses, basically, which was quite funny. The other one that was quite interesting was Marty Christian, who was in the new Seekers.
Okay.
He had there's a new compilation of new Seekers stuff coming out, and he also had some new stuff which we thought was quite good actually.
Yeah.
And we had a chat with him, and he said, "Are you Basildon Hospital?" And we said, "Yes." He said, "My wife comes from Thundersley." You know, I didn't go out with her, did I? But I mean, it just shows you. Alan Williams of the Rubettes, when he was in Australia, turns out he'd lived in Billericay and he had lived in Wickford, and he also lived in Benfleet, and his grandchildren were born at Basildon Hospital. That's why he said yes to talking to us, basically.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. We've had Matt Monroe's daughter, we've spoken to twice. Some great stories about her dad. Jess Conrad, I don't know if you may be a bit far back for you, Lisa.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
But he told a great story of Matt Monroe, didn't he?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell it, Tony?
Yeah, he told the story of one night he and Matt Monroe were out partying or whatever, and they got locked out of their digs, so the only place they could really sleep was in the car. And
he put his pajamas on.
Yeah, they both got into their nightwear.
Yeah.
So, and then all of a sudden during the night, because obviously the condensation on the windows, a policeman come up to him, tapped on the window and everything. So Jess Conrad gets out of his car in his pajamas, and then he's telling him who he is and everything. And the cop was like, "Oh, I'd like to get a picture with you," and that for my wife. And then and then he said, "My mate's in the car as well, Matt Monroe."
Both at the time were very big, the early 60s, you know, big pop stars, you see. You couldn't believe they were all sleeping in this car, because he knocked on the window and said, "Hello, what's going on in here then?" And he invited them back to the police station.
Yeah, and they ended up spending the night in the police cell and having the lovely breakfast and everything. They were waited on.
It was Michelle Monroe told us that story, which was really good. The other story she told was she did a book on her father about 10 years ago, and the music director was George Martin, who actually was the Beatles producer as well. And as he recorded Michelle, one of the first people to cover one of the Beatles songs, which was Michelle. And she can just remember, she was only 8 or something. She saw this guy, and it was George Martin when she was a kid. And he turned up at this reception for her book, and every sort of part of the way, because he was a bit of a legend, and he brought the music of that day to her that he had written out to Michelle. And she was so chuffed. She has it now in her office on the wall.
Yeah.
Because it basically Matt Monroe sang it to her, being Michelle, you know. And we've had such amazing stories that Barry Blue, I don't know if you remember him, you might have heard the record Dancing on the Saturday Night, big party.
Yeah.
The bouzouki player in the middle of it, you hear this sort of a Greek music. Well, that's the guy who ran the restaurant he used to go to, and he got him 50 quid. He got him to do that, and it was a huge hit across the world. He didn't pay more than 50 quid.
Yeah.
But, it's been so enlightening. And like the CV, right?
Yeah.
But I couldn't do this unless it was Tony, because he does all the editing. He knows what the best part, makes it sound better than what I am. You know, basically.
One interview we did have, which was really hard, was Dave Hill of Slade, because the conversation went on for over 2 hours. So I had to break the interview down, and because normally you can find a break point so you can cut away and do some music and stuff, the conversation flowed so much from one bit to another that it was hard to break it down so that I could put music in between. So I've really struggled with editing.
Yeah, he was one of our longest ones. In fact, I had to go to the toilet with him. I had the phone in the hand, and I literally had to say, hang on.
Yeah.
It was 2 hours. You've had short with it, like said Fred Lamar, Mr. Capidoodoo. We spoke to him.
Can you tell people how to access these? How do people access these?
Well, what we did was, what we started to do was put the interviews out during our Monday night show. But gradually, some of the interviews have got longer and longer. So we've mainly been putting some of them as standalone programs with the music of the artists that we're doing. Like recently, the one with Don Powell, we put that together as an hour program with music of Slade, Noddy Holder, and also Ambrose Slade, which was the band that they were known as before they became Slade. And so sometimes we have to put it as a whole hour program. Of how long interviews gone on for. And the plus side, I mean, it has its plus sides doing it that way, because then it means that we can still do our normal show and we can play the interview on another day, sort of thing. Yeah, we did an interview with Keith Bonza, who did a lot of DJing in the local clubs in Basildon.
He did Records and Time, and I remember as a youngster watching him in action. Basically, I never knew I ended up talking to him, and he was actually the DJ when I met my beloved. He was DJing, and he said, I have so many people come out complain because it was probably the last to play the slow section, if you remember. It's the slow section.
Yes, I remember that.
He said, I get the blame for so many of that. But he was quite interested. He'd gone up to work in London, hadn't he? And he does extra work, like extra in films, and he'd done videos, and it was quite interesting. So we still do the sort of the local one, but I just thought it'd be interesting. My whole idea with this was people, they're not well, laying in bed, do they want to hear music constantly, or do they want to chat as well? Somebody who's interested. So it always seems to be the older one that has been around, and I can get old people from the 70s. I mean, I'm basically getting all the people that when I was a kid, I looked upon. I'm talking to Slade, 2 members, and Don Powell, and I got on so well with him. He said, have a cup of tea, but he does live in Denmark.
But when he's coming over here next, if he's nearby, we're going to meet up with him.
Patty Boulay, I got on very well. She was very big in the early 70s.
Yeah, I remember her.
She was on the what's it thing? I forgot the name of it. Anyway, she was very, very good, and we got on very well with her as well. As I say, Susie Quattro twice. You know, she's done it before. She knows what to say. Lucky enough, we're on also a promotions company. It gives us some if we're available. We try and, you know, they're trying to sell their records. We understand that as well. But I think as far as we know, the second most popular hospital radio.
I saw that. I was looking up a little bit of a search on Facebook, and I saw you said that to someone actually. So I thought that's really interesting. So you do some fun things as well as things for charity as well on the radio, don't you?
We've done Millen Coffee Morning. We started doing it about 5 years ago, and what we did was, for the first one, we did like a whole day from something like 10 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night, where we just played requests constantly, where people used to donate money, and then we'd play a record for them. And
it wasn't us doing 10 till 10.
We had other presenters as well, but it's like a shift. But that was how we started it, like an all-dayer. And then gradually, then after that, we were the only ones that carried on doing it every year. And roughly we made about 150 to 200 pounds every time we did it.
Yeah, I suppose we must be knocking towards 1,000 now.
Yeah, I
would
think
have thought so. Over it. I mean, it's our friends. We nag people, and some of the DJs that can't do it, they'll come in and they give us money and say, play this song.
Yeah.
It was always very interesting, people's choice. You know what they wanted to choose. We always had enough, didn't we? Really?
Yeah. I mean, we had some really interesting ones over the years. That blues guitarist Joe Bonamassa.
Yeah, that was quite well. And also we get somebody, hopefully like the nurse comes down from Macmillan, or a couple of nurses.
And they join us on there, and we have a chat with them.
Yeah, they come and have a quick chat, but only 2 or 3 hours. It doesn't sound a lot, but to be on the radio for that long, considering we're only amateurs, it can be, whatever, but it's for a good cause. And it's a shame we couldn't do it last year.
Yeah, because of the COVID.
So do you think the COVID situation meant that more people were available to talk to? You talk about these stars in the 70s, so they weren't doing anything because of being in lockdown, so more people were available to chat. Was that, why you could get hold of people? Do you think?
Yeah, it was a lot easier to get hold of people to interview during the lockdown period, because everyone seemed to be more available.
Yeah. I mean, we got Steve Harley, a Cockney Rebel, who's a legend, and when we got hold of him, he started asking me what I did on the lockdown. We got
to a point where we didn't know who was interviewing.
No, because he'd been on Essex paper when his younger days, and then he tried to get to be a musician. Yeah. And he said, guess who took over my seat at the paper? It was Richard Madeley took over it. Yeah. So, as I say, we've been, flabbergasted. Some of the stories have come out. We spoke to a producer called Lawrence Myers. You may not know the name, but you've seen films by him. He did the Judy Garland one that won all the Oscars a few years ago.
Okay.
And he was Rolling Stones' money man. He was a manager of the New Seekers at one time as well. Because after I spoke to him, I sent a message to Marty Christian, the one I was saying, whose wife comes with Thundersley. And he said, I said to him, I've been talking to your old manager. And he texted me back, he still owes me money. So it's been a real eye-opener. I mean, we still like doing it. I didn't expect to end up doing it as it's been like. Yeah. We still like doing the requests, and hopefully when we get a bit more normality, we're back on the walls and such like. But hopefully we still do the occasional interview we can get hold of. But if you don't ask, you don't know you're gonna get them at all. You don't ask, you just don't know.
No, you found me. I think you asked me. And when I had my book just published in 2019 on the Basildon Memories page, didn't you, Jeremy? I believe. Didn't you get in touch with me on the Basildon Memories page then?
Looking about her book.
Yes. Sorry. I mean, I got you on there, Lisa, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. Yeah. I mean,
to get it on there, it's interesting for people in the hospital. Even as you know now, we're on FM as well locally, so it's good that it could be heard and put forward, something like that. We still look for anything interesting that comes up. Yeah. And I try to get it from a different angle. It hasn't got to be a pop star. It doesn't have got to be an actress. I've tried sports people as well. Yeah. It's just about the story,
Yeah.
It just so happens that I've probably got the people that I probably would look from myself if I was not well listening in. Before that we had someone from the Scouts in, didn't we? We had captain of the walking football team as well, Greenwood. I know that's interesting. I didn't know the ins and outs of what you had to do for the walking football team. One thing led to another, really. I didn't expect to be ended up. I think it's nearly 30 sort of famous people we've spoken to in the last 18 months.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. And also, I've got to mention this, is that the Basildon Writers Group, they produced a book of short stories to raise money for the Basildon Hospital Radio, didn't they?
Yeah.
As well, which is great.
It was really good of them to put money they made from the book towards BHR, because it's not just about what we do. We've got a great team of volunteers that put out shows week in, week out. Yeah. Alan and Steve behind the scenes doing the technical stuff that need doing, like repairs to the studio, making sure the internet stream's running okay so people can listen online. Alan does all the programming, so he has to where so many of us were recording from home, he would have to, we'd send our shows to him, and then he would have to upload them into the server for them to go out at the set time that they go out. So Alan and Steve do phenomenal work behind the scenes, and as does Jackie as well. She works tirelessly doing stuff for BHR.
Oh yeah, I mean we're only doing a little bit a week, which we find is enough for us, but she's never ending basically. And
she does Gateway as well, doesn't she?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think people realise until you get involved what goes on, really.
It's certainly it can take up quite a bit of your life. Especially in our case because of doing the interviews. It takes me about 2 or 3 hours to really edit the interviews down so that it's as good as it can sound when it goes out. You
never know how good the connection is going to be with most of the phone. I mean, the last one we did, the Don Pound Sleigh, that was on Zoom. I didn't come out, basically.
Yeah, we had a bit of
It's funny, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, I've been doing Zoom now for about the last 4 or 5 times, my podcast, and they've all come out brilliantly. Before that, I was doing it through an app, through a podcast app, and the last one before that was terrible. I was so embarrassed talking to this girl who was doing the Roots Theatre Company, and I thought, she's got such a brilliant message and they're doing such a fantastic thing, and I was so embarrassed by the quality of it, so that's what made me go on to Zoom, you know. What I was going to ask is that, did you used to go around the wards and get requests from people?
That's because of lockdown. We haven't been in the studio, and of course we're not allowed up on the wards at the moment.
No.
But that was one thing that I used to do on a Monday. I used to go up on the wall, collect the requests, find the tracks, get them ready to go out on air when we both did our show in the evening. But of course, not being in the studio, we can't have that direct communication with the patient.
Did the patients get quite a lot out of that? Did they enjoy that? You know, that they would have their music. Music request,
I mean, there was times when I'd go up on the wards, and sometimes you'd see someone, and you could tell that they don't have many people visiting them, if any. And that 5 minutes you spend with them brightens up their day, and that's what makes it worthwhile when something like that happens.
We just try and cheer them. We don't just play a record and say, there you go. We do try and chat in between and make it more interesting. Otherwise, you might have just put a tape on with all the songs on it. We try and get some information, or Tony gets some information why they chose this track. It reminds them of their ex-husband, or a good holiday they had many years ago. Like all of us, a good holiday. We try to make it so it's interesting as well, sort of thing. And it's such a good cause, and we won an award, didn't we? Last year, I think it was a voluntary.
Voluntary service award.
The whole radio station did.
Brilliant.
Collected, So it's pretty good. It certainly since I retired, it keeps me quite busy. I mean, it's not simple. You're contacting people, you're sorting out records. You try and make this. You don't play the same type of records we don't. Something difficult.
I mean, it's certainly me doing the poll. Sorry, carry on. Carry on.
Carry on.
Carry on.
I'm always looking for news items or something, a bit of smile on your face or something like that. We normally get some witticism come up. We're not looking. When I try and get hold of these interviews, I don't say we're not panorama. You know what I mean? We're not in depth. We just want it light-hearted. Even if they've had, we all know some of their traumas, some of these people have had over the years, and we try and make it, interesting and light-hearted, and it just fill the day up, really, basically. So,
Oh, that's
as I said, if it wasn't for Tony and he always editing and how he's did it couldn't be done, basically. You just can't bang it out. As you well doing Zoom, Lisa.
And also case, because a lot of our interviews have been over the telephone, I use an app on my mobile, which is the best one I've found for doing mobile or landline calls, called Cube ACR, and it basically records both sides of the conversation, no problem. I mean, when I first started looking for an app that would do it, I was like the situation with Zoom, where sometimes you get one side of the conversation and not the other.
Yeah.
But this app has been absolutely brilliant. It's been a godsend for us.
Yeah. Only trouble we've had with the first Susie Quattro interview, and we had trouble with the Don Powell, which I had to re-edit it again, which took us quite a while.
But it came out so well.
Yeah. We had to talk to the computer basically.
Yeah.
To the questions. But,
am I right? Does Susie Quattro live somewhere around here, or she doesn't, or did she once?
Been somewhere near Chelmsford, I think.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Malden, as far as we know.
Yeah.
I know where Steve Harley is. He's on the borders. He told me that.
Yeah, Claire in Suffolk.
We do try and get if we can get them in the area, know the area, or Basildon Hospital.
Yeah.
We do try. I mean, I have tried Alison Moyer, but didn't get anywhere there. So you do go around. I have friends that tick the wing because they listen to local radios. Have come on. They might be able to speak to them. You know what I mean? If they actually come in with some sort of conversation. Oh, they've got something new to come out with. You know, Vicky Michelle from Hello, she does a radio program near Brentwood. So I found
she does. Yeah, I've been on that Phoenix FM, and I was waiting for to be on the radio talking on the arts program. She was on the slot before, so I saw her in action. Vicky Michelle. Yeah.
She the opening, when I said, "Oh, thank you for coming on," she said, "Hello, Jaddy."
Yeah, she's a character.
You know, it's very good of them to come on, because they know one of the reasons is what they've done. You know, but as you said, getting back to Don Powell, he's got a charity single out with all the drummers, isn't he?
Yeah, Let There Be Drums.
Let There Be Drums. So we push that, because it's all for the musicians that just can't work at the moment. You know.
Yeah.
Not everybody.
That's good.
You know, we do things for good cause. We do play the whole station does play any good causes. We'll play it. You know, you know, in reason, sort of thing. But no, it certainly is an eye. I mean, it keeps you very active. I can tell you that.
I can imagine. Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is why I started doing podcasts, so that I can talk to people apart from the usual people. And it's definitely very helpful for me since March, you know, talking to people each week. So I can imagine it does the same for you. So, and also you get to listen to lovely music as well.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. I mean, we're always well, Jackie is our boss. She's always looking for anybody who wants to join up. It doesn't mean you have to be into it or whatever. So we're always looking for new stuff, aren't we? I mean, the situation at the moment's been a bit hard, but I mean, when things are starting to get, you know, we are getting some DJs in. She's always looking for stuff. I mean, I only saw something in the Yellow Advertiser, basically, and I thought I'd have a go. And there I am 9 years later, basically, you know.
Yeah, fantastic. Anything else you want to add to?
If anything.
What's that? Anything else?
Anything else you want to add?
Not really. When's your next book coming out, Lisa?
I don't know. That's the answer. That's the true answer. I am thinking about a children's book, but it's complicated. It's much more complicated than you think. It's, you know, when I read a book about writing a children's book, and there's so many factors to consider. So who knows? Who knows what's happening in the future?
Good.
Sounds good.
Good. Well, it makes a change somebody interviewing me. I've got so used to interviewing somebody else now. It was, thank you. Even Jerry said, it's your turn now, Jerry.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, so, well, I'll say goodbye and say goodbye for now, okay?
Thanks, Lisa. See you in the future.
Yeah, definitely.